Delicious, and this is my assistant Mike, and we're going to be demonstrating for you guys the pelvic tilt with the prop. Before we begin, we're going to ask Mike to go ahead and roll his blanket lengthwise. He can even roll it like a burrito if that gives him a little bit more height. Okay, then we're going to ask him to go ahead and lie down on his back. And we're going to ask Mike to go ahead and move his blanket up to his shoulder, right below his shoulder blades. Okay. We want this so that his chest bone is the highest part of his body. So okay. Before we begin, I'm going to ask Mike to go ahead and face his palms towards the ceiling so that he's not gripping the floor. And I just want him to breathe for a while and notice where his breath is falling in his body. Okay. So for this tremor, we're going to ask Mike to keep his legs parallel and hip width distance apart. And we're going to ask him to move his heels as close to his butt as is possible for him. It's also as comfortable. And then we're going to ask him to pigeon toe his toes just slightly so that they're not touching, but it helps with the tremor. We notice here that Mike's head and shoulders are falling off of the blanket, and like I said, his sternum is going to be the highest part. And then we're just going to ask him to pull his knees forward at the same time that his pelvis is pulling down. And you can notice that he's going to begin tremoring now. As he tremors, you're going to notice some fluffy sound, which is very restorative for your vocal folds, and it's also the beginnings of sounds here in tremoring. As he's tremoring, he's breaking down the physical tension in his body, and you're also going to notice some feeling breath as well. Also want to make sure that you're breathing through your mouth the entire time and that you're releasing tension in your butt as well as your obliques. And then we're going to ask him to slowly release and come back down. And then you can roll over on your side into a fetal position. And you can roll over into restorative stretch, which is the child's pose. And give your partner a little massage. And then I'm going to ask him to walk his hands over to the left with his right hand on top and breathe into the stretch. And then back over to the right with the left hand on top and breathe into the stretch. And back center. And you can sit back up into a seated position. And just notice where your breath is falling. It should be falling a little bit lower. And how do you feel?
When I first started the tremor, I didn't really feel it. But once you said to start feeling fluffy breath, I felt my breath start to drop a little bit, and the tremor started to increase more. And once I got out, I feel my breath dropping a lot more into my lower back and my abdomen.
And that was the pelvic tilt with the prop.